October 18th, 2024. That's the date that Danny Sheehan said we should be paying attention to. Now, who is Danny Sheehan? He is Lou Elizondo's lawyer on a couple of cases, and he's also the founder of the New Paradigm Institute. So what exactly is he talking about? Let's find out. If you're new to the channel, y'all, and you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. I put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day, y'all. And please hit that like button, vetters. That really helps out the videos. So thank y'all so much for the support there. And of course, comment down below. What do you think about this date that Danny is mentioning? And also, what do you want to come from all of this? Let's dive in. All right. I've got it queued up here. Danny Sheehan, again, Harvard educated lawyer, who you all know, right? And if you don't, time to find out. Let's listen to this clip. He was recently on a podcast called Freedom Pact, and yeah, let's take a listen here.
I find it crazy, as you pointed out, that people don't realize this is happening. For me, when something like that gets passed and, you know, say we have a date to work towards, that this should be mainstream front page news blasted down our face, and we're all on a countdown waiting for this to happen. Why isn't that the case? Why do people not know about this then?
Well, because there's been a 75-year campaign consciously mounted, you know, by the Defense Department, and a campaign by the Central Intelligence Agency to excoriate anybody who actually tries to treat this seriously. And so, and that, not only that, but most of the major news media have been infiltrated by the national security state people. The United States Central Intelligence Agency, in violation of every aspect of the National Security Act of 1947, have basically placed active CIA people inside the major news media. You know, we've established that already. We knew the names of 42 of these people. You know, in that they're posing as their national security reporters. You know, and the newspapers are going, oh great, I've got a national security reporter. They're going to report everything that's going on in the national security community that the national security community wants publicized. But They're going to keep secret all the other stuff. And so that if we're getting set to step on a story that is going to reveal a national security operation, these guys will tell us to stay away from the story. And they will. And so those guys are still operative. All those people are still operative inside all the major news media. So you aren't getting people jumping up and down saying, let's be clear about what's going on here, you know, and they're all off running around, you know, covering the trial of, you know, Donald Trump, whether he gave a hush money to some, you know, porn star, you know, I mean, like they're trying, this is an extraordinarily sophisticated program we're talking about on the part of the Central Intelligence Agency. It's what they call citizen diplomacy or public diplomacy they're talking about. And it's prohibited by the National Security Act of 1947. They are actually propagandizing and trying to brainwash the American public. You know, they're targeting them as if they're kind of foreign adversaries. And they're doing the same thing to Congress. You know, they're still threatening Congress people. You know, with the aerospace industry is threatening to cut off contributions to them if they insist upon pressing forward and revealing this information, because the private aerospace corporations want to get private patents on this information and this technology. And so that they're putting the screws on the people in Congress, you know, threatening to cut off any funding that they give to their campaigns. It's not surprising why they're doing this.
Wow. Now that makes sense. So we've got sort of government sort of infiltrating mainstream media, the very same mainstream media that government sort of pushes us towards, and as you mentioned earlier, that the schools push you towards, and that they're controlling these stories, and the only way these stories are getting told are on podcasts, independent media platforms. And therefore, I think that sort of makes the stories look really uncredible. When you see a story and it's on a podcast on YouTube, and you tell someone, oh, there's this big, October 18th. Oh, where did you hear that? Ah, there's this YouTube channel. Instantly, people are going, oh, whoa, I've lost interest.
Yeah. I mean, but all they have to do is go get the provision. I mean, I should here. All they have to do is go get the here it is of the National Security Act, the National Security Act, the what is it, and the National Defense Authorization Act.
Okay.
United States National what is it? NSA, the National Defense Authorization Act,
Okay.
NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, Section 1833.
1833.
Okay, or get Section 1841. Okay, and title, here it is.
I like how that guy's writing it down. Okay, section 118.22. I'm never gonna look this up after this podcast is over. Like, that's really, I mean, come on. Yeah, that was funny.
It's the statute.
Yeah.
This is the 24-page bill that actually got passed. This is the 64-page bill, the much bigger 64-page bill that was passed by the United States Senate. Okay, and here's the bill that was passed by the House of Representatives, the 24-page bill, and it says right on here, it says within 300 days, you are ordered to transmit to the National Security Archives all of this information that you have. This is right. These are the provisions. These are the provisions here. That's why you have lawyers. You say,
Yeah.
Look at, there's the bill right there. That's the law that was passed by the United States Congress, and it says that you shall have this all gathered together and prepared to give to the National Archives 300 days from the enactment of this statute, and it was passed into law and signed by the president on December 22nd of 2023. And so you just add 300 days to that, and you got October 18th. But nobody wants to mention that. Nobody wants to say, well, October 18th. Hello, why isn't every newscast starting? We're now 280 days from the revelation. I mean, you should have this countdown clock going in the background of every news program, but there it is.
Wow. Well, I'm certainly going to start a countdown clock of my own, because that is amazing. Now, that happens to fall I believe, just short of the US election, right?
Right.
Do you foresee anything happening between now and then for that date to be postponed?
No. I think that there's going to be another public.
So real quick, he's basically saying that on October 18th, right, everything needs to be turned over to the National Security Archives, all the information that is, available about UFOs. Yeah.
Hearing in Congress, primarily on the Senate side, to try to put pressure on those tiny handful of side. No, I think that there's going to be another public hearing in Congress, primarily on the Senate side, to try to put pressure on those tiny handful of people over on the House side, who are basically beholden to the private aerospace corporation, who get their primary funding, from Lockheed Martin, for example. Mike Rogers, who's the head of the House Armed Services Committee, gets his major funding from Lockheed Martin, who wants to keep this secret so they can have a patent on it, so that what the Senate is going to be doing, the Senate is full-throatedly in favor of this disclosure. They're the ones that drafted and passed the 64-page bill. This sets up this entire step-by-step, and the actual term is the UAP controlled disclosure campaign plan. That's they're charged with putting it together. Okay, and enrolled, and it's
That was fun. Plan. So this is interesting, right? He's basically, what we're getting at here is he's basically saying, right, October 18th is going to be the release of these information to the National Archives, okay, that we'll all have access to on October 18th. So files we've never seen before, a lot of them. What will that lead to? I mean, who's to say? But that is part of the bill that passed in the NDAA, right? That's what he was saying, the National Defense Authorization Act. So even though this bill that everyone was talking about from last year got, quote unquote, gutted, as they say, he's basically putting the positive spin on it, right? And I agree with him. Hey, don't forget, this other stuff got passed, and this is important. And October 18th is something to be, counting down to when we'll get access to that information. And then on top of that, he's saying there is a public hearing coming. And I think we can all agree that that's, on its way at some point, for sure. So I don't know, what is the public hearing going to do? I mean, last year's public hearing had quite an impact, right? That was global. That was everywhere. So I think they have the most impact, if I'm being honest. Because even as much as we complain about the government, we still will wag our tails at anything they tell us that, comes out. That's at least definitely something we want to hear about, right? So, and it makes it viable, right? So, yeah, public hearing, hopefully it's public, right? Just like last year's. That's what they need, just the same way. Let's continue a little bit more, and then we're going to finish off. I'll give my final thoughts.
7-year sunset clause on it. So you know exactly what it is they're talking about.
Go back a little bit.
With campaign plan. They're charged with putting it together. Okay, and enrolled, and it's a 7-year sunset clause on it. So you know exactly what it is they're talking about. So
7 years. All right, controlled disclosure plan from now. So what is that? 2031. Have it all out by then. What do y'all think of that? Should there be this rolled out process for doing it? I totally see the argument for it. But I also see the argument for, well, let's front load it, meaning just tell us if we're alone or not, and then from there you can just start disclosing stuff at a pace, right? Different details about it, whatever, but at least just answering that basic question. I don't know. Is that part of it?
This is a huge news story that people need to understand. That the fact that all of the forces that were necessary to get a unanimous decision on the part of the United States Senate that it wanted to have a controlled disclosure program put up and become operational starting on October 18th of 2024 is a huge story. And the fact that 3 or 4 people in the House of Representatives blocked getting some of it put together, which is a lot of the enforcement provision. For example, that they took out of there the fact that there would be a full panel set up, the 9-person panel that the Senate wanted set up to be able to oversee the review of all of this information and to make sure that there was a maximum effort to get it publicly released and to be able to fight back against any effort to resist it on the part of the intelligence communities or the military community. That they had subpoena power. They had the authority to go to the Attorney General's office in the Justice Department and get them subpoenaed. They could bring an action in the United States Federal District Court to have the court authorize the issuance of a subpoena to make them bring the information in. It was thoroughly done on the part of the Senate That's the part that the House freaked out about. He said, no. Let's just order them to do it. And let's pretend like we're going to assume that they're going to act in good faith and provide it, like this. But everybody knows better. These are the same people that, when they were ordered by the Congress to produce the videotapes of the tortures at Abu Ghraib, destroyed all the videotapes.
I agree. But I also think, how are we going to enforce this exactly? Right? What are we going to do? We're going to ask other Americans to come down on other Americans that way. I mean, I guess that is what we do. But I'm not sure how much of an enforcement clause would help anyway. Regardless, what do y'all think? Right? And I guess I also heard Danny say like the 7-year controlled disclosure plan starts on October 18th. So 300 days from the new year, right, is October 18th. That gets us all the files to the National Archives, right? All the agencies turning over their files to the National Archives. Again, link in the description. Go check out the rest of that interview. It's a phenomenal interview, honestly, with Danny. It's really good. And then October 18th becomes the date that this 7-year controlled disclosure plan starts. So October 18th is a special day, I guess, right? We get the files from the National Archives. The 7-year disclosure plan starts. What's step 1? And what's the final step? I'd like to know those two, please. So I don't know. What do y'all think? What's going to happen? Right? Are we going to notice any change on October 18th, or are they going to announce this controlled disclosure plan to us? Like what exactly is going to happen? I don't know. Comments should be interesting on this video. So there you have it, y'all. Danny Sheehan, again, telling us that October 18th, 2024, that's a date to pay attention to. All right, coming up this year. What's the countdown? I don't know. We're in May, at the end of May. Let's just say June, July, August, September. Almost 5 months, 4.5 months, y'all. And then we'll be there. So, anyway, we'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all.